Hey, everybody. That last video, we discussed the beginning structure of the background, the ledges, and also the screw up of the waterfall. On this one, we're going to get that waterfall shaped out and get the background put together. Let's get it. Picking up where we left off with that background and waterfall. Here, I tried carving out the reservoir and shape of the waterfall to see if there's any chance of saving it and improvising. It looks good for starters, but I'm still worried about the plumbing. Trying to cradle the flow and where and how I want the water to set. I'ma see how it works when it comes to the actual flow later. But for now, let's do the hardscape. With a sprayer, I'm dampening the surface for better adhesion when applying the mortar. Starting off with baseball size scoops and just hand applying the sections with shallow coats. As I'm getting around to the shape of the waterfall, I noticed the PVC pipe was completely clogged through with the expanded foam. So I have no choice but to tear it down or off and redo it with mortar and shape it. Let's do it right, no improvisions. After tearing it off, I just base set it with mortar to begin the process. This is how it looks. So the next move is to drop a good amount of mortar onto the area as a big blob. Making sure it's even all the way around. Taking a 1" by 18" PVC pipe and dropping it in the middle of the blob and began to roll out the shape for the water drop flow. After that, I'm spacing out the base of it where the water will collect and overflow. I'm using pieces of foam boards to act as the inside walls of the overflow. I want the inside to be as deep as possible without reaching the actual back of the board. Taking a longer strip of the foam board to create the lip for the overflow. Then covering that with mortar as well. Allowing a few hours to harden, I took a plastic spoon and scooped out the deeper shape of collection for the water. Now let's bring this to life and do some coloring. Using my traditional way of coloring by airbrushing with a sprayer, as always, I base the whole thing with black. As you can see, it dries lighter after a couple hours. I went over the top of it with some metallic gray to give it that rock shimmer in certain areas. Now with some green to give it that messy jungle mix and weathered look. Last, to add some browns in the mix with the green to give it more of a jungle hardscape. I didn't want the waterfall to be just a mound with water rushing out, so I added some river rocks around it. After placing the rocks where I thought they'll look nice, I used Great Stuff expanding foam for pond and stones to lock them into place. After curing, I took my carving knife and just cut off the excess pieces to smoothen it out. As you can see, I did the same process for the hide holes. I'm using rock solid Paver lock from Rust-Oleum. I love how this locks everything into place. With my pump sprayer, I cover the whole board with the first coat. 24 hours later, I do the same with the second coat. Another 24 hours later, the third and final coat. 6 hours after, I'm ready to move it into position to frame. Extra set of hands, as you can see, is not as heavy as it looks. Slide it into place. Now let's bring all the parts together. An extra set of hands to hold the back into place while I drive 3 2-inch screws into the bottom left side frame into the base. Then driving 4 3-inch screws into the back left frame into the backboard. Making sure it's sturdy, then repeating the same thing on the right side. Placing the top on, driving 4 2-inch screws into the top left side to connect the frame. Then do the same for the right side. Next, measuring top length, bottom length, mid length, and mid height of the front opening for the barn style doors. Using 2 8-foot by 2-inch fern strips, cutting them down to 4 4-foot and 4 36-inch angle end pieces. On each side, 2 of the 36-inch pieces will have square ends, and also on each side of one of the 4-foot pieces will be square on both ends. Laying them out how they're gonna fit. Driving 2 2.5-inch screws into each angle, one on top and one on the side. Do this all the way around. And 2 1/2-inch screws on the top of the square ends. And repeat the process for the other door. Now the door frames are constructed and laid out, it's time to get the screen onto them. The same process as the outer and top frames for the cage will be done for the doors. Using my loppers to cut as flush to the frame as possible, all the way around. Stapling the screen to the frame to ensure it stays in place. Now to bring the door to the frame and fasten the hinges. I'm using 3-inch black hinges with 1/2-inch screws, both sides. Let's fill the gaps. Measuring the distance from the bottom inside left frame to inside bottom right frame. Inside left top frame to the inside right top frame. Use the cut to size fern strip and drove 2 2.5-inch screws on both sides from the outside. After, did 5 pilot holes on the inside bottom frame. Then drove 5 2.5-inch screws into the strip to the base to fill any bottom gaps. This prevents the door from swinging inward. Almost there. What y'all think so far? Let's get to the back for the hides now. I'm taking these 4 shelving brackets and create a back shelf. Screwing in 1 bracket to each of the back posts. Using a tote to assume where it would be to ensure where the bracket should be. 2 1-inch screws in each. This is how it would line up. Pretty good for not using the balance, right? Slide my 7-foot shelving board into the brackets. Bring over my 2 totes and line them up over the hide holes. Go around to the front with my marker and trace the inside diameter where the holes would be on the totes. Grab my tote and start punching the 4-inch holes. After cleaning out the debris, I'll enter the 4-inch toilet flanges on the insides. Buckle them into the tub with 4 2-inch screws. Then took a 2-foot by 4-inch PVC pipe and cut it in half to make it approximately 1 foot apiece. Rinse them with the water hose for any loose debris. Then connected them to the tubs. Then connected them to the back of the hide holes. Make sure that they are tight and sturdy. Then back to the door of the cage. Okay, so I'm using this beaded aluminum frame to prevent upper swing back. Cut this to size and screw it to the upper frame with 1/2-inch screws. Now to the middle gap area to prevent the mid bending. I'm using this 46-inch cut 4-inch by 1-inch board to go up the middle behind where the door closes and meet. Using 1-inch screws, I drove 2 into the board and beaded frame at the behind top. Then at the bottom, I used 2 36-inch furring strips on each side of the board to prevent it from shifting. Drove 3 2.5-inch screws into the furring strips to the strips beneath them. Cut a portion of the beaded aluminum brace to meet the base to the midboard using 6 1/2-inch screws. Just a little extra security, I drove 2 more 1/2-inch screws at the top behind into the aluminum. To make this door even more snug, I'm adding 1 more furring strip to the inside bottom frame of each door. Then I'm dry locking all of the inside wood areas to protect from the elements. While that is drying, I'm numbering and measuring and taking shape of every faceboard to prepare the trim. Making sure every piece is precise when covering the sharp points of the welded wire. This should turn this from a cage to an exhibit. I'm using these 50-piece 4-inch wood lath bundle, real cheap. Cut them to the precise shape and length and used 1/2-inch screws to join them to all the faces of the cage. inside frames to the carpet. Screwing the carpet with 6 half-inch screws on the bottom of the frames on both sides and inside the front. We are getting there. All of the trim and carpet is in place. Now the only thing left to do before staining is to fill those inside gaps. Using 2 cans of black gray stuff, pond and stone, I'm filling all of the gaps around the back portion of the wall, especially where the wall meets the frame. That's it for this installment. Catch the next video where I'll be hooking up the foliage and making a tree from PVC pipe. To the next one. Y'all take care out there. Peace.